swiftly, but now nailing the throttles, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear. Coming through here in fourth gear. This is the quickest corner on the new revised Phoenix track.
Well, bikes are on their way, I think, but still Formula One, there's no comparison.
I think there's more people on a global scale turning out to see the race. There's more money involved than there's ever been before. There's more major multinational companies who are producing the engines.
Formula One has represented to all the world what motor racing really is.
Inside Track, a behind-the-scenes look at the FIA Formula One World Championship. Today on Inside Track, Ayrton Senna defends his World Championship with round one in Phoenix for the US Grand Prix. John Alesi has winning on his mind. We'll speak to some famous personalities like motorcycle champion Eddie Lawson and three-time Formula One World Champion Jackie Stewart. We'll look back at the history of one of the most famous teams in Formula One, Brabham. That's all coming like in last year's exciting duel between a speedy Brazilian and a very promising young Frenchman. Ayrton Senna entered the season as one of the favourites to take the Drivers' Championship. He had the motivation, the backing and the reliability of Honda power. But who would have known that Jean Alesi of Tyrrell would make the biggest impression of the 1990 Phoenix Grand Prix? The front of the start grid had an unusual look to it. Gerhard Berger in a McLaren held the pole, but it was Pierluigi Martini in a Minardi and Andrea De Cesaris in a Dallara who stood second and third. Fourth on the grid, Jean Alesi charged after Berger. And in an effort to hold Alesi off, Gerhard Berger hit a tyre wall, his race effectively over. For defending world champion Alain Prost, his day at Phoenix ended abruptly with engine problems. With Alesi leading, Ayrton Senna put on a charge and the two drivers engaged in a furious battle that saw the lead change several times. Ferrari's misfortunes continued as Nigel Mansell went out in spectacular fashion, his day over in one great burst of flame. For Ayrton Senna, the first race of the 1990 season couldn't have been better. A winning start to a World Championship season. For 1991, Ron Dennis and his McLaren team will be after their 7th Constructors' Championship in 8 years. With some of the top technical staff in the business, including Dave Ryan, Neil Oatley and Steve Hallam, and the pedigree of the MP4 chassis, along with the potential of the new Honda V12 engine for this year, yet another world title is a very strong possibility. Gerhard Berger will be hoping to erase the memories of the 1990 season in which he was plagued with bad luck. While Ayrton Senna, although undoubtedly the quickest driver in Formula One, will have to deal with the pressure of being the world's #1.
I think it's all relative to your personality or character, and also how committed you are with your goals, your profession. I am a kind of perfectionist, and I always, when try to do something, I go for everything, go for the maximum. Therefore, I totally give my time and my attention to it, and therefore it is very stressful, it's very tough, and you tend to get tired throughout the season.
Ferrari have looked the most likely to unseat McLaren as world champions after a very successful series of tests during the off-season. The V12 engine looks more reliable than at any time in its development, and the 642 chassis should also prove to be very reliable if testing is any indication. However, a street circuit like Phoenix creates problems even for teams as well prepared as Ferrari.
We're not 100% happy with the setup yet. This is always a difficult place because it's different than the places we test during the winter, and obviously being a street circuit like this, we're not able to test here, and so it's always difficult to get a good setup.
Jean Alesi made his reputation at Phoenix last season, and for 1991 he's hoping that his time at Ferrari will consolidate his position as a top driver with a top team.
You know, I think we work very hard all the winter. We have a very competitive car. Now we have to race and to see what will happen.
Alesi will learn much from Alain Prost, the undisputed master of technical tactics. With the right car, two great drivers and the financial backing of Fiat, Ferrari could have their most successful year since 1979, when they took the Constructors' title and the Drivers' Championship. In 1979, the two Ferrari drivers were Jody Scheckter and Gilles Villeneuve. Between them, they won 8 races, Scheckter with 5 wins and Villeneuve victorious in France, Austria and Watkins Glen. Scheckter won the drivers' title with 51 points. Team manager at the time, Mauro Forghieri.
And in my opinion, was one of the best team Ferrari had for many years, because he was more than a team, he was a family, and each of the team component was fighting for the others. I can tell you that between the two drivers, they have been both very quick and both at the level to win a championship. It was a very high friendship, and Gilles was helping Jody to win the championship. That's not so easy to find in other team even today, as you know.
Forghieri's newest child is the Modena team, otherwise known as Lambo Formula One. It was a project that started in 1989 when Lamborghini was approached by a Mexican consortium to build a car for Giovanni Aloi. That fell apart, but the project was reborn under the leadership of financier Carlo Petruccio. Modena is therefore a customer of Lamborghini engineering, with Forghieri overseeing the design of the car while developing the V12 engine.
You know, Formula One is not question only of engine and line and so on. It's question of experience, skill and driving ability. If it's true what I am here, around the paddock, the best 6 drivers are paid as much as we have money to develop the engine. So until we don't have enough money to have a driver like that, I don't think we can beat anybody.
The other new team in Formula One this year is the 7-Up Jordan entry, run by the amiable Irishman Eddie Jordan. He has an established success record at the lower formulae of racing, having seen Jean Alesi to the Formula 3000 Championship in 1989. Although his car has plenty of potential, Jordan knows the road to Formula One success won't be easy.
Is it more difficult than Formula 3000?
I'll tell you after pre-qualifying tomorrow, but of course it is. There are 15, 16 world-class teams here. They're the best in the world. They've got all very good budgets. They have got excellent drivers. They know exactly what they're doing. Technology in terms of the design, all excellent. I have to believe that our own is particularly good as well. So from that point of view, I feel that on the team side that we're in very good shape.
Bertrand Gachot of Belgium has one of the Jordan drives, while veteran Andrea de Cesaris finds himself on his 8th team in 11 years.
Well, I have a good relation with Eddie because he's many years. I know him from the Formula 3 time, basically. And the people who work in the team, is most of them have experience because I already work in Formula 1. I like very much the engineer and the other people that helped him to to develop and design the car. So I'm slowly building a relation between the team, yes.
But while De Cesaris faces the prospect of pre-qualifying, 3 other veteran drivers are in with a realistic shot at chasing McLaren and Ferrari. Nigel Mansell is a fan's favourite for his determination and speed. Combine that with the considerable backing Williams is giving him, along with the punch of the V10 engine, Mansell is very confident of a good season.
I'll make a statement and say for sure we're going to win some races. I don't think there's any question about that, but yeah, we've just got to see if we can be reliable. The car was late coming off the line, and we are suffering even today because of that. But as I said, everyone's pushing very hard. There's no lack of effort anywhere in the team, and we have just got to be patient and hope that it all comes together for us. And if it does, then who knows?
Teammate Riccardo Patrese has 208 Grand Prix behind him, and he's looking as good as at any time in his long career. Nigel Mansell led out the cars for the first real qualifying session later that afternoon. The surface remained dusty, and it would be a factor in the qualifying aspirations of several teams. Jean Alesi's performance in Phoenix 1 year ago earned him the prestige of a contract as one of the 2 Ferrari drivers. And so all eyes were on the Scarlet number 28 as he went around the redesigned Phoenix course in a time of 1 minute 23.59 seconds, an average speed of 160.3 kilometers per hour.
You like this circuit, don't you?
Yes, I like this circuit, but also, you know, I changed a little bit the setup of the car because the beginning was not good for me.
Satoru Nakajima in the Tyrrell hit a tyre wall later in the session. That was just as Ayrton Senna was on the track and set to go after Alesi's time. But with the incident came a red flag, and with it Senna's opportunity to improve on his time ended. McLaren didn't have their best day. Gerhard Berger, last year's pole sitter, spun and just touched the wall. Team manager Joe Ramirez.
Why with one car was 11 and why the other one was second? We should have been 1-2. I think towards the end of the session, the circuit was very, very quick, and unfortunately Gerhard touched the wall and lost a lot of time, and Ayrton didn't have enough time. When he got out, he just got the flag and didn't do a complete lap.
3-time world champion Alain Prost, just 3rd fastest after this first qualifying session. He was getting on for a whole second behind Jean Alesi and Ayrton Senna.
First session, so the cars are getting better all the time. Also the track is improving all the time because it was very dirty when we started this morning. More than anything, I mean, I was quite happy with the car, but after Nakajima accident, we started all together, and it was only 7 minutes left, and I had traffic, and I think even Ayrton Senna had traffic the second set of tires, and it's difficult to tell. Jean had a very good clear lap, and it shows that Ferrari was also very fast on this kind of track, which is normally not our favorite place, but I'm also very impressed about the McLaren today and the Honda engine.
Nigel Mansell's big effort was spoiled when a drive shaft failed and pitched him at the wall. Mansell made one of those recoveries for which he has become known and returned to the pits apparently unmoved by the day's incidents. Nigel, that qualifying session, 1 minute we were looking at what looked as if it was going to be a very quick lap, and then we were looking at what looked like a broken drive shaft.
Oh, did you get it on the film? It was a big moment, wasn't it? I mean, I went into the corner and really put the power down, and something snapped at the back and almost threw me off the circuit, and it was in fact a drive shaft snapped halfway in the corner. And I think on the equipment it would have been a low 24, which I think would have put us second place, or definitely third place anyway. So, but anyway, we've got tomorrow to look forward to. The main thing was we kept it out the wall, because at one time I thought, oh no, we're going to hit the wall now, because it was exciting for about 2 or 3 seconds.
Nigel Mansell just 9th quickest then, but the honour of the Williams team more than upheld by Riccardo Patrese, who was 4th fastest by the end of the session. Having more than dominated pre-qualifying, Emanuele Pirro showed up well in the first main qualifying session, he was 5th fastest in the Dallara with the Judd V10 engine. 6th fastest and showing all the signs of the resurgent form from the end of the last season and 2 victories, Nelson Piquet and the Benetton Ford. Lotus though not so happy, Mika Hakkinen 22nd fastest and several moments of excitement during the course of the day. Hakkinen though has had precious little track time with the car, and in fact the whole Lotus team come to this first race virtually as a reformed unit. Julian Bailey also had plenty of excitement. A cracked oil pipe caused this fire. It looked more dangerous than it was, but Bailey ended the day in 29th position. So an amazing last-ditch effort from Jean Alesi, quite literally in the closing seconds of that first session. That set the scene for a tense battle during Saturday's very vital hour, and that's exactly what we got as Jean Alesi struggled to hold that provisional pole position, and a number of other people, notably Ayrton Senna, struggled to take it away from him. Jean Alesi then concentrating hard on retaining the provisional pole he'd snatched late Friday afternoon. Further down the pit lane though, other developments were afoot, perhaps the strangest developments of the entire weekend, as Leighton House came to the track on Saturday and discovered their cars had been sabotaged.
That's right, we left about 1:30 this morning, and about 7 o'clock this morning we returned to the pits. Ilmore arrived just before we did, so about 7:15. The mechanics were just finishing off some work on the T car, and they noticed on the front left-hand side wheel that the brake line had actually been cut, and all the material that covers the brake line was all frayed. We looked further and it had actually been cut. The mechanics on Mauricio's car were then doing some work on his car, and we found a cable had been cut on the oil pressure sensor. And then we started looking on Ivan's car, and all the electrical connectors into the injectors had all been snipped off level with the injectors. So we then looked around and there were 1 or 2 other bits of damage. Somebody had basically come in, snipped through all the electrical components, snipped through the brake line, and then it just left. It was very unfortunate for the team because it left somewhat unpleasant taste in our mouths, but it wasn't damage that would have been discovered out on the track. We would always have found it before the team had got onto the track, so at least it wasn't too serious from that point of view. To my knowledge, it's never happened before in Formula One, and we have no idea why we were picked out. Maybe it was just his first garage, but no idea, no suspicions at all.
Mysteries in the pit lane, no mystery about what's happening on the track though. Jean Alesi on provisional pole overnight, and then Alain Prost early in the session snatches it away from him. Alesi had been 123.3, Prost went down to 123.2, and then Ayrton Senna up the stakes. He took pole position with a controlled, smooth lap, 122.8 seconds. Jean Alesi made a brave and vigorous attempt to take the pole position back again, but couldn't manage it, sailed very close to the wall on a number of occasions. Then out came Alain Prost, and Prost elevated himself to pole position, upping the stakes yet again, 1 minute 22.5. Ayrton Senna unleashed one of those eerie qualifying laps of his when he seems to be travelling very slowly, 121.4 seconds. Ayrton Senna once again in a different league. Alesi tried too hard on the next lap. The wall he'd narrowly missed the first time around came even closer second time. Alesi rubbed the right-hand side of the Ferrari all the way down the wall, and that was his qualifying session over and done with. From behind you can see just a fraction wide on the exit into the dust, which was all over the Phoenix circuit on the first and second day, and that was the end of that.
Jean, I guess there's really only one way to find out where the limits really are, huh?
You know, I did my first lap with a different setup, and I don't did a good time because I had my the back of the car a little bit light. I changed the wings, and when I try the second time to do the good lap, I had some traffic. I have to overtake on the dust, and I arrive in the corner where I crashed with no grip at all.
Ayrton Senna on pole, Alain Prost beside him. Nigel Mansell came out, made a brave attempt and went fourth. He was eclipsed by his teammate though. Riccardo Patrese was third quickest.
Yes, I'm pleased. The car is running well, better than yesterday because we had less trouble today. I could run more laps, so mainly we are doing a good work in the setup and to prepare the car for this race.
Meanwhile, Lotus new boy and Formula One rookie Mika Hakkinen made a brilliant effort and qualified his car 13th.
Mika, congratulations on an effort today. You surprised an awful lot of people, I think. Did you surprise yourself?
Yes, I have to say yes, I surprised myself a little bit. But also, before I went to second qualified, I did really tough concentration before I went out, and it helps a lot. And also, the Team Lotus did excellent job. They worked really hard to make car good, and it was quite nice.
Alain Prost had played the qualifying game right down to the wire with Ayrton Senna and come out a whole second slower, and that's with the much improved and brand new Ferrari 642.
Our car is much better. It's still not the track where we are very competitive, even this year. Even if I'm in the first row at the moment, we prefer the long corners, prefer the proper tracks, but we are in a better shape because we have a good reliability. We know the car very well, and also I think we will be very fast in the race condition. But as I said, you know, this track is different. It's not the one we like, and we will try to get some points and not to push too hard to lose a good result.
So Ayrton Senna with his 53rd pole position in his career, an unequalled record. And before that good result that Alain Prost was talking about, there's another hurdle to get through. Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost are side by side on the grid at the front.
Well, my great friend is just beside me, and maybe we have lots of excitement just as we had in Japan. Maybe not. Who knows?
Thank you very much.
When we come back, a look at the first race of the 1991 FIA Formula One World Championship from Phoenix, Arizona. That's right here. The FIA Formula One World Championship always attracts big name stars, like former 500cc motorcycle champion Eddie Lawson. Our pit reporter Chris Economaki spoke to him earlier.
Eddie, we keep seeing you at auto races. Might we see you on four wheels one of these days?
Well, I sure enjoy it, Chris. It's one of my passions. I love it. And, you know, it's just a hobby for me right now. But in the future, I would definitely look at that.
I see you're adapting to the European talents at Cafe Espresso. Is that part of what the appeal is?
Yeah, it's a requirement. When you get on an Italian team, you have to drink this and eat pasta. So I got to watch my weight here. But no, it's a really good team, and Ferrari's invited me here, and this is fantastic.
How does the appeal of Formula One, Eddie, compare with the appeal of international bike racing?
Well, bikes are on their way, I think, but still Formula One, there's no comparison at the moment. But hopefully one day we'll get there. But at the moment, this is incredible. I mean, all the people that come out here and support this.
Of course, the hope is that Americans will take Formula One to heart and that Phoenix won't be the only stop on the Formula One tour. Once again, Chris Economaki with someone who's got strong ideas on that subject.
Do you get any feel that America might get more involved in Formula One?
I think for that to happen, Chris, we've got to have American drivers. I think it's very clear to me that American sport is relatively domestic. And I think we have to have top American drivers contending in Formula One before it will really mean anything to the United States. The other problem is, of course, there's only one race in America. And you're so used to getting the benefit of a series to fully understand it and get the media over and get this audience that's looking here right now to understand the sport more completely. Maybe you need more repetition. But I do believe that it's right for the future as long as we have American talent in there.
And of course, as many of you already know, McLaren boss Ron Dennis has signed Michael Andretti to a contract as a test driver, so who knows what will happen in the future. In the meantime, let's check on the starting grid for the 1991 Phoenix Grand Prix. That's the grid then, and now for a look at the racetrack itself and what it takes to negotiate this street course, let's join John Watson.
Well, we're in car with Ayrton Senna. He's just coming on to the start, finish straight, through the corner rather slowly, but now nailing the throttles, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear. Watch just how Senna, he's got to be really very precise because anything off the line is dusty. Back down to second gear for this right-hand corner. Now let's see. A little bit of oversteer. Look, you can see a correction on the wheel. Third gear. Back down to second to go left. Again, all these minute corrections just to keep the car that very, very fine balance. Again, left in second gear. Now right. Always trying to get on the power as soon as possible, but of course on a street track they are generally very dirty. This is the new section of circuit. Drivers like it a lot, much better. Again, look at Senna, the tail getting away from him as he's fighting to get the power onto the ground. Coming through here in fourth gear. This is the quickest corner on the new revised Phoenix track. Back down to third here. This is now the second fastest part of the circuit. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth gears. At the end of this straight, again another right-hand corner, but Senna, he uses the gearbox to help slow the car down. Some drivers go straight from sixth to second, but Senna goes through the gearbox. Short shifting into third, back into second gear, left, now right. Again picking up the throttle, taking third gear, and then we're into this final, this very, very long and very tricky. There's no obvious apex in this corner. Rejoining the start-finish line, fourth, fifth gears. Crossing the line now, and that was a lap time of 1 minute 23.5, approximately 99 miles an hour.
So we're just about set for the start of the 1991 Phoenix Grand Prix. But let's join pit reporter Chris Economaki once again.
One of the great moments in sports, the start of a Formula One Grand Prix. It ranks with the World Cup in soccer and the opening celebration of the Olympic Games. And the man who has elevated Formula One to this status in international sport, Bernie Ecclestone. Bernie, congratulations on a great job. Phoenix here, the first race of the 1991 season. What about Formula One down the road?
Looking good, Chris. Everything is, I don't believe the coverage we're getting everywhere. More and more interest in television. You see more spectators here. It's growing every year.
What about the prospects of an American driver in Formula One in the years to come?
Let's ask Mr. Dennis about that.
Okay. Bernie Ecclestone, the man who put this all together, can now sit back and watch the Grand Prix of the United States unfold. I'm Chris Economaki.
So the grid formed up, and Jean-Marie Balest, president of the FIA, waves the green flag to start the cars on their warm-up lap. Ayrton Senna, the man in pole position, with arch-rival Alain Prost alongside him. The second row of the grid, all Williams. Then comes Nelson Piquet and Jean Alesi. Gerhard Berger, Roberto Moreno. The top four teams basically right at the front of the grid, crowding the sharp end. Any one of these drivers could be the winner of this race and, in fact, the eventual world.
Your commentator, Simon Taylor. Thanks, Andy. Yes, the first green light of the season, and Ayrton Senna started as he meant to go on, out-accelerating Prost's Ferrari and the Williams Renaults. But Prost was slotting neatly into second place from Mansell and Patrese, with Berger and Alesi and the Benettons in hot pursuit. As always, the unyielding walls of Phoenix required accuracy as well as speed, but Ayrton had plenty of both, and he had no trouble in pulling out a big lead. The new McLaren was looking like a winner from race 1. As the rest of the field gave chase, there were problems further back. Mika Hakkinen had a strange one. He'd knocked his steering wheel release, and unable to steer the car, had this mighty spin. Behind second man Prost, Riccardo Patrese went for Mansell's third place and came off worst in the ensuing Williams brake test. But he recovered quickly from his mistake and rejoined in 6th place. Mark Blundell was less lucky with his Brabham. He'd spun into retirement.
I was enjoying it very much. We had a few problems, a bit of an engine problem, very low on power. But looking at the car, there's a lot of oil on the back of our car, so the car broke away quite suddenly. It won't surprise me if it's had a leak and we've spun in our own oil.
Then it was all over for Nigel Mansell. The Williams' new electronic gearbox had failed, the first blow in a character-building season for Nigel. The McLaren of Gerhard Berger, lying 5th, lost fuel pressure and then all power and needed a push. And then second man Prost had a disastrous tyre stop with the Ferrari. Watch the mechanics on the right rear wheel. This stop lost him so much time that he rejoined in 6th place. But then disaster struck the new second man, Patrese. His Williams' gearbox had failed and spun him out. And it was also the end of Roberto Moreno's race. There he is, running across the zebra crossing to a position of safety. Take a look at what happened. Patrese spins, and then Moreno's Benetton joins the heap before Riccardo can get out of the cockpit and escape. It could have been very much worse. Bertrand Gachot had the Jordan up to 7th in its first race until this spin across the bows of Alesi. Alesi got through safely, but Nelson Piquet was next along and he nearly got involved as Gachot recovered. Mika Hakkinen, who'd had his steering wheel tightened up, finally called it a day. And then we had a great battle for second as Alesi was caught by Piquet and teammate Prost. And this is how Prost went from 4th to 2nd in one wonderful manoeuvre. He's behind Piquet, Alesi's the other side, and then he squeezes between the two of them and he has the inside line for the right-hander that follows. And that's Jean Alesi's eye view of the battle. The Jordan debut ended when Gachot's engine blew and he parked behind Martini's Minardi. And so, almost unnoticed, Senna drove on to a comfortable win in the McLaren, opening his account in exactly the way he'd wanted. And with both Williams Renaults succumbing to gearbox trouble, their Achilles heel was already evident.
So an opening 10 points for the defending champion. Prost relieved to gain 6 from a circuit he never enjoyed. Piquet delighted, both Tyrrells showing, and a useful point for Larousse, plus a few more made later by Senna.
Now the car is ready. The performance speaks for itself. It's a brand new car. We never run full Grand Prix distance with this, with full tank. Today was the first time, and we win a race like this with a lot of lead. So it's a great performance. The car is reliable too. The engine also ran very, very well. I had just small problems with the gearbox and a question of keeping on the road, staying away from the wall, coming for tires at the right moment. And the start was very important. So things went very well for us. Our car is, although it's running well, is still, I think, a long way from being right. It's only a question of us having the opportunity to set up it properly and learn about it better And we know that the engine is going to improve too. It's a question of time that Honda will come up with a higher performance engine.
2 Brazilians in the top 3, a result that set up the next race perfectly.